Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto Was Broken by the people that he loved. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, stay tuned for the rest of what is coming your way over Anime King 2 and Anime King 3. If you're new, yes, you heard that correctly. I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, and yeah. Without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last part that we left off. As Naruto was now a father. As we went back into a flashback. Knowing that the Akatsuki was after him, Naruto had came up with a plan. A plan that will help him in the long run. As he was able to find a group of bandits. He took all of them out and he left one of them alive. As he told him that he must go and report back to his boss. As he would like to talk to him. The man ran away in fear. That is when Naruto heard something as he went to investigate. Only to find out that it was a strange man, standing over a young child. He looked strange. He had several detached arms. As he was looking down towards the child on the ground calling her Nell, he raised his katana as Naruto intercept. He ended up taking the man's head clean off. As he looked towards the young child, she ended up passing out from everything that has happened. She woke up sometime later as she saw Naruto. She then explained who she was and what happened, and all the people that she came to know were gone. She spoke about someone named Ichigo and several others, and now she was here. As Naruto told her that she could come along with him. It's not like he would leave her here after all. So with that, he took Nell with him. While they were making their way, Naruto started to hear voices. As he looked around, but Nell didn't hear anything at all. He then came to realize the voices were coming from inside. As Naruto found himself in front of his past memories of what happened between him and Ino, Hinata, everything came rushing in front of him as he remembered everything. The memories of the past came back to haunt him, and they were terrible. Of them destroying his heart and his trust one after another. He then refocused as he came face to face with Zabuza, who was the spirit of his blade. As Zabuza told him that he was the only one that could reach it to the final level, he gave him a map and told him to go there. As Naruto was confused by all of this, but he could tell that something was up with his blade, and not to mention his mask, the voices, as they started to get clearer and clearer. As the spirit of Zabuza vanished, leaving Naruto. As he blinked, he had the map in his hand in the real world. Meanwhile that was going on at Konoha, Tsunade was furious as Ino was talking about Naruto as she wanted to go and search for him. But Tsunade reminded her that this was her fault in the first place. As Tsunade released a breath, it was then that Envoy came in the office and told her that Hinata Inuzaka was gone. The Inuzakas had been looking for her, but after she heard about Naruto disappearing from the village, she went after him. Tsunade cursed. Meanwhile that was going on, Madara was pissed off. Things were not going his way. In the last battle, things did not work out too well, and he had to flee because he had lost the war. But it seems that Naruto had gotten smart over the past couple of years, as he didn't just come straight towards Koyuki to rescue her. Meanwhile that was going on as Suigetsu and the reanimation Deidara, Madara was not that good at it, so if he died, his body would crumble away. They were after the two-tailed Jinchuriki. As Yugito ran, she ran as fast as she could, but she stood no chance against them. As that blade was siphoning away all of her chakra that Suigetsu had, it was then that Naruto appeared, as he intercepted. They tried to battle him as Deidara soon realized that Naruto was the 90th host. As he started to attack Suigetsu thought that he was untouchable because he could turn his body into water. As Naruto grabbed him, using the fox chakra to start to turn him into steam. Suigetsu realized he couldn't get away as he screamed as his body started to evaporate right in front of his eyes. So yeah guys, it was basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the place check out for yourself. So this begin this new episode. Suigetsu cried out as Naruto watched as Suigetsu turned to steam right in front of his eyes. As Hinata fell, as Naruto then turned, he realized that the hero was gone. As he turned to chase after him, but he stopped when he felt a chakra signature. "You can come out," said Naruto. "I can already sense you." Out of his shadow stepped Sasuke Uchiha. "Nice job with the water freak dope," said Sasuke. "What do you want?" said Naruto. "I'm here under orders to take you back to the village, Naruto." "Well, you wasted your trip because I'm not going back." "Quit being unreasonable, you dope," Sasuke said. "I don't know what caused you to leave the village, but you can't stay out here. Madara and the other Akatsuki members we weren't able to finish off in the war are still out there, and if they get their hands on you and take the Kyuubi, damn it, you need to come back so that we can protect you." "Well, as you can see, I can protect myself," said Naruto. "I will deal with Madara when the time comes." "Go back and tell Bachan to just leave me alone," said Naruto. "I can't do that, and you only have 3 options here. You come back peacefully, or I kick your ass and drag you back there. Or the third option, I have to eliminate you. Hokage's decree to prevent the Kyuubi from falling into the enemy hands, and I don't want to fight you. So just please come back with me. I'm sure whatever it is that is bothering you can be fixed. There's a lot of people in Konoha that cares about you." As Naruto was quiet, too quiet in fact, he then finally spoke. "So Bachan actually placed death sentence on me if I didn't come back like a quiet little dog. How typical. Someone else who loved me turning their back on me for their own selfish reasons." "This is all a bunch of bullshit," said Naruto. "People at the village that cares about me? Well, I guess they haven't had their chance to tear me down like everyone else I've come to love. Well then, screw you and screw the village, Uchiha. Because I am not going back," said Naruto. "Damn it," said Sasuke as his monkey turning and flipped to life. "I didn't want to do this, but I have no other choice. You're coming back with me," he said. "Let's see you try," said Naruto. Before the fight could happen, Sasuke was attacked from behind. As blue flames slammed right into him, it threw him towards the broken wall. As it collapsed right on top of him, Naruto turned to see the woman that he saved. As there was a blue cloak around her, it vanished as she fell to one knee in exhaustion. As Naruto rushed over to help her, a fellow Jinchuriki like himself. "Forget about me," she said before he could say a single word. "Go finish that guy off. That was the last shot of chakra I have. And I know that you gotta be running low after your fight. So hurry up and kill that bastard before he wakes up." As Naruto chuckled, "I can't kill the teen while he's unconscious. When we fight, it has to be at full strength. We deserve nothing less," said Naruto. She looked towards him confused. "You're rather strange," she said. "What's your name?" "My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, but most people call me Naruto." As Naruto removed his mask, she blinked. "Namikaze? Wait, are you related to the 4th Hokage of Konoha, Minato Namikaze?" "He was my father," said Naruto. She blinked in surprise. "So, your own father sealed a Kyuubi inside of you," she said. "Yeah," said Naruto. "So who are you?" he asked. "My name is Yugito, and as you already figure out, I am the vessel of the two-tailed cat demon." "Well, Yugito, if you feel up to it, let's go track down that other Akatsuki member and give him a painful death." "What do you say?" he said as he picked up Samihata and sealed away. "I would like that very much," Namikaze-san, she said. "Naruto, just call me Naruto." "Okay, Naruto-sama," she said. As Naruto sighed, "Guess we'll work on it." "Hey Nell, did you enjoy the show?" Yugito heard clapping as she looked up. Over toward the side there was a girl in a tree, with a strange skull hat on her head, as she was clapping and smiling. "You're the best, Naruto-kun," said Nell. As Naruto was about to say something until he sensed 3 chakra signatures moving towards him at incredible speed. He sighed. "Oh crap. Not them," he said. He knew exactly who the 3 people were. It's not like they stood a chance against him, but he didn't really want to hurt them. As he sighed in annoyance, he picked up Nell and placed her on top of his shoulder. As Nell turned her head as she picked up the senses coming towards them. "Hang on, Nell," said Naruto. "We're gonna get going." "What about her?" Nell asked, as Naruto looked down towards Yugito. Realizing in the state that she was in, she would be defenseless if the Akatsuki come after her again. "They're about half a mile away, kid, and coming in fast," said Kurama. "Better make your choice now." And to make things even worse, rain started to fall. As Naruto sighed, he picked up Yugito as she was quite surprised, as he jumped in the tree with her, with Nil on his back. "Alright you guys," said Naruto. "Be quiet." As he lowered his chakra level really low, placing up again jutsu to make himself blend in with the trees, like no one was there. Yugito glanced towards his mask as he was holding her in his arms. "It's just a mask," she said. "Quit being a scaredy cat," she thought to herself. "Hey, I take great offense to that," said Nibe. Meanwhile, Hinata had a grim look on her face. The trail was cold. She just left the land of wave. As she was looking for Naruto, she heard that the hero of the wave had returned there, and she was sure that it was Naruto. But unfortunately, by the time she got there, he was gone. And Tazuna passed the word around that if anyone asked from Konoha where Naruto went off to, was to be told nothing. She spent a long, fruitful day questioning the people there, but she got absolutely no information about him. Disheartened, she kept on walking until she found a local temple, where she sat and prayed to Kami that she could find him. But someone walked in, and it was none other than Tsunami. Tsunami saw the sad look on Hinata's face, as she ended up speaking to the girl. This girl was worried, concerned, heartbroken to find Naruto. Tsunami believed that this was not one of the people that Naruto needed protection from, so she took her back to the house. Tazuna was reluctant at first, but this girl, she just wanted to find him. She wanted to explain something to him, and it was breaking her as the seconds goes on. And with his daughter giving him that dangerous glare, Hinata was able to get some information, and now she was currently making her way once again. Gone was her usual outfit. She was wearing a long black sleeve with a kanji for hope on the back. She was wearing black pants with high knee boots and a black backpack, and her leaf headband was nowhere to be seen over her. She was wearing a half mask, and her hair was cut and tied shortly to change her description a bit. She also had a katana strapped to her back. It was thanks to the man that Tazuna sent her to. At first, he wouldn't reveal anything, but it was amazing how a fistful of money and a threaten with a Jayugen strike would get you to spill information. After that, she had trekked on with the tracking hound that she had brought with her from the Inazaka compound, and it was able to pick up the scent that Naruto had. To her shock though, they came across a battlefield, and there was blood everywhere, and Naruto's scent was mixed up in it. But the dark informer that he had moved on, and there was also the scent of a female. Hinata started to get worried. He must have run into an Anbu tracking squad. Most of them are set with 2 males and a female, but that meant, as she looked around at the blood, this was bad. Really bad. Anfus would be after her as well as she thought about it. But she had to find him no matter what, before the trackers find her. Several hours later, she found the campsite, where the corpses were, of the several men. As she saw a symbol, she has been hearing about this bandit group, called the Crimson Bandits. It was them. The dog informer that Naruto sent was mixed up in it. With all the blood being there from the bandits, it showed that he was the one to dispatch these men. The tracking howl had picked up at the scent, and they were off once again. They then came upon another scene. Hinata saw a man, but she wasn't sure that he was all that human. And he also seemed like he had 6 arms, but 5 of them were gone, just leaving one, with a strange carving weapon. Hinata started to get worried as she looked towards the brutality of these killings. She knew that Naruto had come into the role of being a killer, as he had broken the White Fang, Kakashi's father, record in Hanfu, and it had earned him a lot of praise from his fellow members. He came to accept that killing was a part of being a shinobi, but it was the brutalness. She started to get worried. She pushed her anxiety aside, as the dog told her that they were probably just a day behind, judging from the scent. But he was no longer traveling alone. He was traveling with someone, judging by the scent, probably female. Hinata was starting to panic now. She was catching up to him. What would happen when she does catch up to him? What would he say? What would he do? Who was this girl that he was with? The last question that she asked herself, that filled her with the most dread. Suddenly she stopped, as a hound paused and looked towards her. Her gaze looked down towards the ring on her finger. This little gold ring had been part of the reason why Naruto left the village. It had been all her fault. If only she could have told him the truth years ago. Maybe there could have been a way to stand up to her father, but she knew there was nothing that she could do back then as she sighed in resignation. She just hoped once she meet up with him, he would understand when she told him what happened back then, her reasons for marrying Kiba. But while he might understand her reasons, that still didn't mean that he would forgive her, and that pained her heart. Then her thoughts turned towards Kiba, her face then twisted in anger. She did not love him and he knew that. She loved Naruto, and he knew that as well. Yet, him being the heir of Inuzuka clan, and one of Naruto's closest friends, did nothing to stop the marriage. In fact, he acted just like her father, and for that she hated him. Not to mention what a sham of a marriage it was in these past 3 years. Still, while her father and Kiba had been the catalysts for Naruto's pain and for her own unhappiness, there was only one person that she blamed. It was all her fault. She pulled the ring off her finger. "You stupid ring," she said, as she saw a small river over the side, as she threw it, as it dropped right inside the pond. The sky then cackled as rain came pouring down. Tears started to run down her cheeks. With this rain, Naruto's scent would be washed off, and the canine could no longer track him. As she gave the dog a smile, "You have been rather helpful. Thank you for all your help," she said. "You can return home." As the dog gave her a bark, before heading off back towards the village, she would have to find him herself. But she was not the only one thinking about him. Meanwhile, in the hidden leaf, Sakura had tears in her eyes as she looked towards a photo with her and Naruto. She found out about Naruto's missing in status when Choji and Shikamaru came in the hospital. She was shocked at the extent of Choji's injuries. She couldn't believe that Naruto would do that to one of his closest friends. But the Naruto that she used to know was gone. This was the Naruto that she helped to create. As she was currently sitting on her bed, as she looked at the photo, the happier times with him and her. A photo with the both of them holding hands. As she was kissing him right on the cheek, she clenched her fist that wasn't holding on to the photo. What was I thinking? The best thing that ever happened to me. And I threw him away like an idiot. That picture had been taken before Sasuke was brought back to the hidden leaf, when she had made the biggest mistake of her life by choosing Sasuke over him once again. And then she came to realize it late that she had 3 wonderful years with him before he brought Sasuke back. And what did she do the moment he brought Sasuke back? She clenched her fist even tighter. She immediately reverted back to her 12-year-old fangirl self. She thought that Sasuke would be better, and she would be the most happiest woman in the world. And she threw away everything. "Idiot," she said to herself. Her body shook as she cried, tears falling on the frame. She was more miserable now than ever, as she realized that she wanted Naruto. She even broke off the engagement between her and Sasuke. But she was late. Too late. She had never seen him so sad, or even more broken than the day when her and Sasuke had told him about the engagement. But the pain of that night was nothing compared to the pain that she felt when he lashed out at her. And she knew that she was at fault. She was the one to blame. That day she was going to tell him that she had broke up with Sasuke. But now she realized that was stupid. How much could a man's heart take? She had already done so much to him. As she collapsed on her bed, tears still seeping from her eyes. But she couldn't allow it to end like this. She loved him. She couldn't deny that she loved him. And she couldn't just let him go off like this. She couldn't let that be the last meeting that they had together. She was gonna find him, no matter what, as she got packing. Meanwhile, Yugito focused her eyesight as she saw a young man in a green spandex suit with bushy eyebrows appearing. A voice then called out, "See anything, Lee?" Lee looked around, but he saw no one. "I see no one, Neji, but it is difficult for my flame of you to see through this hard downpour," said Lee. "Are you sure that this is the location that you spotted those strong chakra signatures?" A moment later, 2 more people appear. A girl with two bun in her hair. The other one was a male as he landed, as he activated his Byakugan, as he started to scan the area. For a second, Neji's location started to narrow down towards a tree that Naruto was currently hiding in, when the sound of a brick could be heard falling. As he turned his head, over there, Lee, someone is buried under that rubble. Team guys start to remove the bricks, only to find out that the source of that chakra was Sasuke. As Lee helped him up to his feet. What are you doing here, Uchiha? I'm here, Hyuga, because I'm under orders from Lady Snazzy to retrieve and return Naruto back to the Leaf. But he got away. So the great Uchiha failed, huh? Neji said. I failed because I got blindsided by a Jinchuriki woman that Naruto had rescued from a couple of Akatsuki members. What happened, Sasuke? Tenten asked, as she tried to defuse the tension growing between him and Neji. I found Naruto just as he had engaged one of the Akatsuki members in battle. It was Suigetsu, my former subordinate, in Hebai, years ago. From what I could gather from the conversation, him and his partner Deidara was after the girl because she was a Jinchuriki, but Naruto stepped in. He took out Suigetsu without much trouble. He was about to go after Deidara, but he sent my chakra and called me out. Then what happened? I tried to convince him to come back, but he's so full of anger and pain. He refused to listen. He said he wants nothing to do with the Leaf and the people in it, so I was gonna forcefully bring him back, but I got sucker punched by the girl. Lee sighed. It is sad that Naruto's flame of youth has been dampened over the years. Well, you can thank the Hyuga slut cousin for marrying the Inazaka mutt and turning Naruto into the man that he is now, Lee. The dope should be grateful that he never got to marry her, because if her love could so easily go from him to Kiba, if he had stayed with her, she would have probably two-timed him right behind his... Sasuke couldn't get to finish that, as he was brutally smacked down to the ground. The moment he looked up, he was grabbed by the shirt as Neji pulled him up eye level. You arrogant Uchiha pig! You lay sole blame on Hinata for causing Naruto's pain when you and that pink-haired bitch are just as well twined up in causing the pain that he's going through. Get your hands off me! Sakura and I haven't done anything to Naruto. Really? Well then let me tell you what you and her did to him. Neji, Tenten said. As Neji turned towards her, you gave your word to Naruto. Neji took a breath before calming himself. It pissed him off that Sasuke would put the entire blame on Hinata, not after. He shook his head, calming down. Lady Hinata marriage to the mongrel was a disturbing event to all of us, none more than Hinata herself. I cannot tell you why she went through it, because I do not know. However, I suspect there's a reason why she went through it that none of us know. And it has nothing to do with her loving Kiba over Naruto. In fact, I can assure you that she has never stopped loving Naruto, and she has suffered greatly for it over these past 3 years. As Naruto's ears twitched as he heard everything that you were saying, he had gave Hinata the chance. He had pleaded with her, he had begged her, telling the truth, why she was going through this. But she never gave him an answer, as Neji words sunk into Sasuke's head. But he was curious why the Hyuga was placing blame on him and Sakura. But before he could have falcon, came from the sky a messenger bird, and landed right on Lee's shoulder. Tenten unfurled the message, attached to the bird's leg, and read it. Lady Snazzy has recalled us from searching for Naruto. We're to report back to the Lee village at once for further instructions. Very well, since we missed our opportunity to capture him in the first place. We will spend the night in that small town, a few miles back, to get out of this rain before heading back. Come Tenten, Lee. I wish to get out of this downpour as soon as possible, said Neji. As Tenten paused, Sasuke, you coming? She asked. No, I got someone I need to see, and they're about 2 days travel away from here. Suit yourself, said Tenten, as she ran to catch up with her teammates. Once they were gone, Naruto jumped down, with Nell securely on his shoulder. They were safe for now, as Yugito jumped out of a tree and landed, before she dropped to one knee. She was still incredibly weak after her battle with the Akatsuki. As she saw a hand in front of her face, she looked up as he had removed his mask, as she took it. Who were those guys? She asked. I have little time, so I'll make this quick. Those guys were envoys from the Hidden Leaf, and they're pursuing me, because I'm a missing link from a leaf. Now, I could leave you here. He saw panic flash across her eyes, before she instantly forced it down. She was amazed at controlling her emotions. But that will leave you easy prey to the Akatsuki, who are the ones that attacked you, by the way. I know all about them. I've been their prisoner for the last 8 years, she said, as she spat with disgust and anger. If she's been their prisoner, perhaps she will be able to help us. You should take her along and get whatever information you can from her. Plus, once she's healed, she can be a powerful ally. She has a two-tailed cat, and even you have to admit she's not bad to look at. Perhaps you and her could knock it off, you perverted fox, and Naruto. Your other points are valid, but I'm not just gonna ask her to join us so that I can get laid. Well, you should. You've been living like a goddamn monk for the last 2 years, ever since that blonde bitch dumped you. And I'm sick of it. Enough, Naruto. I'm not having this conversation with you right now. Well, Naruto, since you know about the Akatsuki and what they're trying to do, it wouldn't be right of me to leave you out here, Naruto. Here to join us. Her eyes widen a bit at that, as she remembered how easily he had taken care of Suigetsu. I think that we will be safe with this one, kitten. His heart. It seems to be full of pain and anger, but he's a pure-hearted person, I can see it. And not to mention he's a vessel of the Kyuubi. Maybe you could... Whoa, Miss Pervert. Don't get any ideas there. I don't even know him. Well then, said Nibe. Get to know him. So, said Naruto. About my offer. Interested? There is safety in numbers after all. If I say yes, she said. I just have one condition. What's that, said Naruto? Would you treat me right? I mean, with respect, she said. Of course I'll treat you with respect, said Naruto. Thank you, Naruto-sama, she said. Once again, Naruto-sama, said Naruto. He thought to himself, well, we'll work on it, he thought. Suddenly, the sky was filled with a bright red light. A flare was shot up in the sky. As she saw a smirk on his face. What's that? An army, said Naruto. Huh? She said, confused. Let's go, he says. He started to move. Wait, what's going on? I'm gonna get myself an army, he said. Naruto-kun, as Nell leaned on his face, blocking his vision. Is the cat lady gonna live with us from now on, she asks. Yes, Nell-chan. She will be traveling with us for a while. Nell turned as she looked towards Yugito. I know. You can be his wife. What? Both Jinchuriki shouted. Time skip. As they finally arrive. As Naruto saw the bandit that he left alive. As the man was standing there in a small tent. He looked quite afraid. Yugito watched as a grin came on his face that looked quite savage. As a chill went down her spine. Not a bad one. He had this look like he had a complete control of what was going on. She desired that in a man. Someone who was aggressive and passionate. Who wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. Oh, seems like you're already getting hot for him, kitten. Yugito blushed for a moment. Shut it, you stupid cat, she said. Don't blame me. I just call them as I see them. As Yugito looked away, before he could feel the sensation of her eyes looking towards him. I have no idea what you're talking about, said Yugito. However, she failed to notice that Nell was looking towards her, considering that Nell was on top of Naruto's head, who could see everything that was going on. And Yugito glanced towards Naruto every now and then. As Nell leaned down, Naruto-kun, why is the cat lady looking at you so funny? Naruto blinked. I don't know, Nell. I didn't know that she was. As Nell looked curious. Her eyes then went wide. Why no? Hey cat lady, are you still thinking about being Naruto-kun's wife? For the second time in that night, the two Jinchuriki shouted, what? Meanwhile, down below, Daisuke, the man that Naruto left alive, looked around as he could swear that he heard someone. Daisuke was a muscle man, as he was wearing a black shirt. He was wearing a baggy pants, and there was a giant Fuma shuriken on his back. Strange or not, he was nervous as hell as he pushed back his hair, as his brown hair combed behind him. What if he did not show? Leader Sama would think he had failed, and he had no desire to fail. He had to show up. His very life depended on this meeting of the very powerful man that he described to his boss, and his life depended on it, after all. If he couldn't come with results, he would be dead. Or was it that he thought about his boss? No one had ever seen the face of a leader. The person was wearing a black robe, and not to mention they were wearing a face mask that obscured their voice, so you could not tell if it was a he or she. And no one ever got too close, so you couldn't make out anything. As that person was in charge of the mighty gang, known as the Crimson Blades. But when he had mentioned that name, Naruto Uzumaki, the leader, he saw a reaction that he never saw before. There was a slight twitch. I wanted to bring him to me. I wish to meet him. Those were the exact words of the leader. And all of them knew that the leader did not tolerate failure. So, if he didn't come back with this Naruto Uzumaki, well, there was no point of going back. It's not like he could hide from a leader. He would definitely die one of these days. Daisuke then saw something drop from the sky. Boom! The ground shattered as whatever it was slammed into the earth. Something crashed down behind it as well, but the impact wasn't so large. Daisuke then saw it. That mass. As he stepped back in fear, it was him. It's a good thing you did as you were told. I knew that you were smarter than you look, said Naruto. Tell me, Did you set up the meeting between me and your boss? Yes, Naruto-sama. My boss does wish to meet you. I shall escort you back towards our base. That would be good, said Naruto, as Daisuke realized the pressure was no longer there. So he thought he could go back to his old way of talking. Hey, who are the brat and the babe? The next second his throat was grabbed as he was picked off the ground. He struggled to breathe. The brat and the babe are with me, and I don't ever want to hear you refer to them like that again. Understood? My apologies, Naruto-sama, Daisuke said. His voice was stammering. As Naruto released him, the man fell down to the ground in a heap. As he rubbed his throat as he looked back up, as he saw Nell sticking her tongue out at him, his eyes then glanced towards Yugito, as she was giving him a dangerous glare as he gulped. So when do we go see this leader of yours? What's your name, said Naruto? My name is Daisuke, Naruto-sama. And we will see the leader tomorrow, as soon as the escort squad arrive, to take us to him. Very well, that works for me. My companions are weary, and it would be nice to get out of this rain and get a good night's sleep. My apologies, Naruto-sama. I didn't know that you'll be traveling with companions since the last time I saw you. I'm afraid the tent I brought is only big enough for 2 people to occupy. Oh, that's not a problem. Nell-chan is small and can sleep between Yugito-chan and myself. Yugito blushed a bit. Heard him call her Chan. But where will I sleep, Naruto-sama? Said Daisuke. Oh, you won't be sleeping. You'll be watching through the night. You don't have a problem with that, correct? As Daisuke gulped. No, Naruto-sama. I have no problem with that. The next morning, as several people were making their way, as Naruto stood in the clearing, along with Nell and Yugito, Daisuke, a voice called out, Is he here yet? This demon of yours? Yes, Sakika, he's here. A moment later, several men, thugs to be exact, emerged from the forest, as they were being led by a tall man. He had long red hair and he was dressed in a formal kimono. A look of disdain was on his face, as he had his arms crossed over his chest as they were hidden under his robe. This is your demon? He looks like a normal man, and not a strong one. A fear of the man around Sakika snickered at that. You would be wise not to make him angry, Sakika. He took on my squad in less than a minute. I'm sure he can do the same to you. As Naruto noticed that there was some bad blood between the two, the man known as Sakika eyes went towards Yugito and Nell. Who are these two? Daisuke made no mention of them. They're with me, said Naruto, as he put on his mask. I met them only recently, after I dealt with their little group of bandits. Sakika looked towards Naruto. And what makes you think that you're worthy of joining the Crimson Blades? Surely you don't think that senseless slaughter will get you anywhere. As Naruto's eyes narrowed towards the man, the leader has expressed great interest in meeting you, and I'm sure there won't be a problem with your 2 comrades, Daisuke said. Sakika frowned at this. Wait a moment, I never gave you permission to stop as a sword pressed up against his throat. You're annoying me, so be quiet, unless you want me to remove your head, said Naruto. Sakika was shaking to his core. When did he move? But he tried to put on a brave face. You wouldn't dare. Try me, said Naruto. The thugs looked towards Sakika. No one has ever done that to him before. But yet, he didn't do anything. If you kill me, Sakika said, Leader-sama will not allow you to. Naruto brought his blade down, as it created a nasty gash from his shoulder blade going down. I said, be quiet, as Sakika cried out in pain as his wound started to bleed. As Naruto sheathed his blade, as Daisuke handed him a package, the bandits rushed over towards Sakika's aid. Before anything else could happen, Naruto paused. What the hell? No. As he turned his head, they struck her signature that was coming. Hinata, what the hell is she doing here? Hinata burst out of the trees, her sword drawn and ready. But it fell. As she saw him, clad with his mask on, her eyes grew wide as she pulled on her face mask. Naruto-kun, is that you? She said. Time seemed to stand still, as Naruto turned to face her, as she was just staring at him. As many of the bandits turned their head, looking at the black bodysuit that she was wearing. Whoa, who's the babe, many of them thought. As Daisuke saw that she was ignoring everyone else, except for Naruto. As Daisuke saw the pleading and loving look that she was giving Naruto, but when he looked towards Naruto's face, there was nothing. He couldn't read anything from it. It was just blank. Does he know her? Is she gonna join up as well? Sakika had passed out from blood loss. As the man had finished patching him up, Daisuke said, Naruto, I want some privacy. As you wish, Naruto-sama. Hurry up and patch him up, you idiots. Leader Sama won't tolerate an unnecessary death, even if it's a fool like Sakika. They were almost finished in the way, but they wouldn't say that. After all, he was more higher up in the food chain than them. As they gently picked him up and brought him off into the woods, for privacy as Naruto wanted. But Hinata didn't care about any of that. As she stepped forward, Naruto-kun, it is you, she said. What is she doing here, you thought? She can't be here, not now. As he tried to keep up his calm facade, but he was thankful for the mask that hid most part of his face, so they couldn't see it. As she would have seen the uncertainty being reflected through his eyes. Meanwhile, Yugito was looking towards the Hyuga. But before she could say anything, Nell spoke up. How do you know Naruto-kun, she said. Hinata cut a small smile on her face. No mask would change that it was him, and she already knew that, but that was full confirmation. As she started to walk towards him until she froze as he placed his blade right in front of her face, stopping her from getting any closer. He had drawn his weapon so fast, she could barely do anything but stop from getting any closer. You're a long way from home. What are you doing out here? Inuzaka-san, said Naruto. Are you here to bring me back? Here to fight me like everyone else? Maybe you thought because of our past, I would follow you back to the village. Or maybe an ambush that is set up by the envoys. Or perhaps your loving husband, said Naruto. Upon hearing the way he addressed her and the way he spoke, she felt her heart rattle with pain. She missed the way he used to look at her. But now, his eyes were cold, empty. The way he would speak soft to her when she was sad and lonely, and he came there to cheer her up. But now, she felt sick to her stomach. Her marriage with Kiba had forever changed him. She always believed that he would forgive her. The old Naruto that she used to know would have. But this was no longer the old Naruto, was it? He was different. He wasn't comforting, warm. He wasn't reassuring. He was just a different person entirely. Over the past 3 years, she still loved him. But she never thought what would have happened to him, or his love towards her. That seemed like it has gone downhill ever since. Naruto-kun, she said, if you're happy away from the village, then so am I. I will never fight you or force you to go back, or lead you into any kind of trap. I would never do that to you. His hand trembled a bit, as his blade trembled slightly, but an image of our wedding day flashed through his mind. His hand stopped shaking. Nice to know that there's only one betrayal you can inflict on me. So if you're not here to bring me back, then why are you here? Surely you didn't come just to talk to me, or exchange pleasantries. You know her, said Yugito. As Naruto nodded, yeah, I know her. At one time, we spoke of getting married, but that was before she decided to move up the social and political ladder of Konoha and marry to one of the great clans. Here, Hinata looked down with shame. Is she part of the reason why you left your village? Asked Yugito. Yes, she is part of it, said Naruto. I was betrayed 3 times by the people that claimed to love me. And, like the fool I was, I sat there and watched it happen. Huh, not again, though, he said. As Yugito saw his eyes, they were no longer hard or angry. There was just sadness in them. She knew that look too well. As Nell rushed over and climbed up Naruto before she got on his shoulder, as she hugged his head. You're not alone, Naruto-kun. Nell is here for you as well. Hinata felt the glare as she turned towards Yugito, who seemed angry at her already. Did Naruto find someone else with this woman? And who was the child, Nell? The former Cloud Kunoichi outfit was in tatters, exposed in certain areas of her body, showing the curves and not to mention a chest that could rival Hinata's. As I thought of the both of them being together in different ways, angered Hinata, as she raised her own killing intent towards Yugito, as Yugito narrowed her eyes in anger as she realized that. But then Naruto pulled off his mask, as the both of them turned. Then Hinata saw it, his handsome face, as he placed away his blade. As Nell saw the way the woman looked towards Naruto. Does this woman want to be your wife-chan as well? As Hinata blinked, wife-chan? Her past came back to her as her face turned beet red. The thought of becoming Naruto's wife. The thought that she always had rushed through her mind. One of her fondest wishes. But then Naruto spoke up. Where's your ring? He asks, as Hinata looked down. Of course he would notice that. She had to tell him. This was a perfect opportunity. She could tell him everything that happened. She stepped forward this time. He didn't draw his blade. Until she was close enough to gaze in his eyes. I threw it away, she said. She saw him stiffen a bit. She couldn't go back now. She had to tell him everything. You did what? Said Naruto. She took a breath. I want you. And only you, Naruto-kun. I only want to wear your wedding band. Not Kiba's. He looked away. Naruto, she said. Please, listen to me. I threw it away. I left the village to find you because I want to be with you, she said. Because I love you, she said. Don't, said Naruto. His voice becoming cold. You don't get to say that to me. Not after what you did 3 years ago. Why should I even believe you? I loved you. I told you I wanted to marry you. Something that I value. Even as much as being the Hokage. And you broke me. So did you really think that you coming here declarating your love for me? Do you think I would just drop to my knees and tell you that it's alright? Sorry, but it's not happening. After everything you went through with Kiba and gave him everything that I wanted, that we could have had. No. I'm not lying, she said. I've always loved you, even in my marriage, and I will always love you no matter what. As tears started to stream down her face, the sadness in her voice, the tears. He did not like this feeling. If that is true, then why? Why did you go through it all? Why did you rip my heart out on that day? I did it to save my sister and Konohamaru, she yelled. What? Said Naruto. I married Kiba to save Konohamaru and Hanabi, Naruto-kun. When my father and Kiba first approached me with a marriage, I instantly refused. Even when my father threatened to have me branded, the cursed seal, I still told him no. I only wanted to marry you because I only loved you. This angered my father and Kiba greatly. My father because Kiba had paid him a great deal of money for my hand in marriage, and Kiba because he wanted me so badly. I was then told that if I did not go through with the marriage, Hanabi would be branded with a Cagebark seal, so Kiba could control her. As Naruto blinked, in shock. If you remember, Naruto-kun, Hanabi and Konohamaru had fell in love, and my sister was just so happy. She kept on talking about Konohamaru, how he just made her life wonderful. And I knew if I didn't go through with this, I would destroy her future. Even though I know that I would be condemning my own. Why? Why didn't you tell me about this, said Naruto? I could have done something. I couldn't, she said. If I didn't follow through, my father would let the arranged marriage of Hanabi go through. And not to mention, Tsunade-sama couldn't do anything. So we couldn't have done anything against it. We could have just left like I wanted, said Naruto. I couldn't leave my sister behind. Forced to marry to Kiba and branded. And Konohamaru, heartbroken, unable to get any answers. I know that you love Konohamaru like a little brother, so tell me, could you have really done that to him? As Naruto still remembered the pain that he felt after losing Hinata, and he wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, not to mention Konohamaru. They were going to get married. When they turned 18, he remembered Konohamaru was so happy. Hinata spoke up. Konohamaru and Hanabi got married 2 weeks ago. It was a wonderful wedding, and they were both happy. The only sad thing was that you weren't there to attend it, as Naruto was just quiet. After a few minutes, she could no longer take the quiet. Please, Naruto-kun, say something. Please tell me you understand what I did to save Hanabi and Konohamaru. As Naruto took a breath. You don't understand, he said. I understand why you did what you did, but not telling me. Not trusting me. It wasn't a matter of just you, Naruto-kun. I would trust you with my life, she said. But for them not to get what they want, they would have done something. And I don't want to see you get hurt by my father, or Kiba. With Kiba becoming the heir towards his clan, and my father, with the Hyugas under his control. I understand, Hinata. But you don't understand, said Naruto. Not telling me. Making me watch you marry off to Kiba. Hurt worse than any other physical pain I ever received. After what happened with soccer, you rescued me from that darkness in myself. And you became the one in my life. My angel, he said. Losing you ripped my heart so badly. And then, Ino destroyed it into pieces. Tears were pooling from her eyes. I understand, she said. But I thought I was just doing the right thing, to protect the ones I love. But along the way, I hurt you more than I thought. I know I can't do anything to take it back. But I will never stop loving you, she said. As the place went silent. I don't know what you want me to say, said Naruto after a while. I don't hate you. Despite everything, I don't hate you. But I don't know if I can love you, he said. I thought I knew what love was. But after everything, I realized I never knew. You say that you still love me, but I'm not the same man. From 3 years ago, so how? How can you still love me? You're just clinging on to the fantasy of that guy back there. What I am right now is someone that doubts that he can ever love again. You should just go back home and forget that you ever found me, said Naruto. You're wrong, she said. The man I still love is inside of you. But I won't try to make you love me, she said. But I will always love you. As she wiped her tears. There is no home for me to go back to. But all I will do is cause you pain. So I understand. As she went to get her things. As she picked up her sword. As the fox then spoke up. So what are you gonna do? Let her leave on her own? Shut up. It's for the best. As the fox chuckled. For the best, you say. Let me remind you what she has done. Yes, I get what she has done in the past, but she has deserted her home, her family, abandoned her husband, in the sake of finding you to tell you the truth of what happened all those years ago. Now, envoys will be after her to bring her back, not to mention the clan that she got married in. Do you think they will stop going after her? Oh, well, we're near to Kumo. Perhaps Kumo ninjas will find her, given the fact that she's not going back to that man. Perhaps they will find her and turn her into their own breeding machine. As Naruto thought over what the fox said. But what the hell should I do, he said. The fox then flashed images to Naruto's mind. One of them was her in Kumo chained up, naked. The other one was her being tried in front of the council for deserting the village. The other one was Kiba standing over her. If you do make her go on her own, something's gonna happen. And something that you will never be able to forgive yourself from. And I don't want to be the one to hear your whining the entire time. As Naruto took in a deep breath. Hinata paused as she turned around. But guys, to be in subs right here. If you want to see the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to be posted. Remember, share to all of your friends and social media platform. And also guys, stay tuned for the rest of what is coming our way, which I hope you guys will enjoy. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support, and yeah, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace out.